On the other side of a storm is the strength that comes from navigating through it. Raise your sail and begin. Just because you're struggling doesn't mean that you're failing. I think sometimes people equate struggling with failure. It's not. It isn't even close. In fact, if you're struggling, it tells me that you're still in the game. We don't see these incredible opportunities first because every opportunity that you and I have is surrounded by a problem. I've never gone to an opportunity that I didn't have to go to the door of problems first. So the next time you have an obstacle, a difficulty, an adversity in your life, don't allow the crisis to numb you. Be alive, learn, feel, fail, learn. That's what it's all about if you want to make this difficult time a good time. I just want you to know that there's a hero within you. I know there is. And during this tough time, let the hero out. Let people see the best of you, your highest aspirations. You be the one who's the lifter and the encourager.
Hi, Mark Cole here. In the 20 years that I have been working alongside John Maxwell, we have never seen a time as critical as this for values-based, people-centered leadership. John Maxwell says that crisis separates pretenders from players. Always has, always will. That's the purpose of the Leadership When It Matters the Most series. John Maxwell has felt that in a time like this, that we need to be offering value and extending opportunity for people that want to make a difference. You see, crisis requires leadership that gives context, leadership that will step up and lead when others won't. Now, our goal is today in this time, as you spend a little time with us, that we add value to you so that you will multiply value to others. I hope that over the next few minutes, as John Maxwell shares a lesson that he has prepared for you right now, leadership when it matters the most, that you will take note, that you will take hope, and that you will take charge. Today is the day that in this crisis, you can make a significant difference. Now, it's my pleasure to bring to you John C. Maxwell.
Hi, John Maxwell here. I'm so glad to be with you today and to teach another lesson that kind of, encourages us, helps us to, just cope with what's happening in our world right now. And even more than cope, helps us to get in front of our people and lead them in a correct way. And as I was thinking about the lesson I want to do with you today, if you watch Minute with Maxwell, if you watch it in April and May this month, you've every time you turn on, I do what I call a stretch statement, which is pretty much a quote from some pretty famous person usually, that just helps us to kind of get through the dark days and the tough, the uphill climb. And as I was thinking about the Minute with Maxwell, I thought to myself, I want to do something that's not on Minute with Maxwell at all, but I want to give you some stretch statements in teaching, okay? And the reason that I do that is because really when we are in the middle of what we're in right now, the question is, are we going to stretch and go to something and towards something, or are we going to shrink? Are we going to pull back? Are we going to keep turning around and looking behind us instead of looking at what is before us? And I would encourage you, if you haven't been watching Minute with Maxwell, you can get that very easily. It's only a minute or maybe a minute and a half on the stretch statements. But I've made this statement to you before. I'm coming back to it because it just fits this lesson so well, and that is that Jack Canfield statement that everything that you want that you don't have right now is it's because it's outside of your comfort zone. Because if we wanted it and it was inside of our comfort zone, we'd go get it. And so everything that I want in my life, everything that you want in your life, and you don't have it right now, it's because it's outside of your comfort zone, and you and I haven't yet said, I'm willing to get out of that comfort zone to get it. I'm willing to pay whatever that price is to lift that lid. Well, again, the coronavirus has taken everybody out of their comfort zone. There's any question about that. But on these stretch statements today, I really want us to go big here for a little bit. And to help you, I tell a quick story. Last year, we were, I can't remember whether it's in Guatemala or Costa Rica, but we were on one of our transformation trips, and I had some business people with me. I love to take them with me on these trips and kind of show and tell, let them just see how we're transforming leaders and the whole process of how we do it. And it's always very exciting. And so when I'm finished with those trips, I always gather them together and we just have a dinner together. And I just basically say, give me your thoughts. You've been here with me now. Talk to me. And it's always very inspiring to listen to them talk about the things that they learned and the things that they experienced. And it's always a very high energy, positive environment. Casey Crawford was with us on this trip. And of course, he founded Movement Mortgage, I think the 6th largest mortgage company in America. And so when it came to Casey's time, he just leaned into me and he said, John, for right now, I just have one word, and the word is more. That's the word, just more. And later on that day, he caught me and we had a little bit of private time. And he said, John, I don't know what more means, but here's what I do know. It's more than everything we've seen on this trip. It's more than any vision that you ever had. More time, more resources, more people help. It's just bigger than you could ever imagine your life. And what Casey did in that 5 to 7 minute private conversation is he stretched me. He stretched me because I thought, I've got a pretty big vision for transformation. If you want to transform a country, that's not a small vision. And yet Casey's looking at me and he didn't even give me a stretch statement. He gave me a stretch word. He just said more. And he said, you and I are going to figure out over the next couple of years what that means, but I'm going to go with you. We're going to make it happen together. And we're going to experience more than we could have ever imagined. That's where I want your mind and your heart to just kind of embrace this thought of maybe today, just stretching yourself a little bit more than you have any other time. In my 15 Laws of Growth book, one of the laws is the law of the rubber band. The law of the rubber band just simply says, growth stops when you lose the tension between where you are and where you can be. And it's all about the rubber band and the fact that the value of a rubber band is that it's stretched. If you don't stretch a rubber band, there's no value to it to anybody. Nobody ever took a rubber band in its original form and said, this is very valuable to me. No, it has to be stretched around something to hold it together. It's the stretching that makes the rubber band valuable. We have taken our kids and our grandchildren out to Park City just at sometimes, and just out to Colorado some too, also for skiing trips. And we were out there and we were having our dinner. When we go on a trip like this, we have dinner together every night. And so we had a nice, Maxwell family dinner. And when they came to sit down at their table, at each place setting was the rubber band, different sizes, different colors, the whole deal. And so I gave them the law of the rubber band, and I basically gave a 2-minute talk on stretching. And I said, why don't we just put the rubber band around our wrist, and tomorrow while we're snowboarding, skiing, having a good time, let's look at that rubber band and realize that we have to, we need to continually be stretched if we're going to be useful. And Ella, who at that time was about 14, she put the rubber band around her wrist, and the next night at the dinner table, she came and she had 2 rubber bands around her wrist. I said, Ella, what happened to you? She said, literally, I went out to ski today, and she said, I saw a rubber band in the snow. And I reached down and picked it up. I put it on my wrist, Papa, and she said, the only thing I can think of is that I need to expand twice as much as the other kids, and I just need to stretch it twice as much as I possibly can. And I gave her a hug, and I loved it because it was an application of our need to be stretched. My friend Chris Hodges talks about the vision gap, and I like this a lot. He said, it's the gap between what I'm doing and what I could do. Well, the gap between what I'm doing and what I could do, it's a stretch. And I'm going to talk to you now very simply about some stretch statements that are just going to help you just kind of expand yourself just a little bit. And I want to say to you, as we're thinking of these stretching statements, you never leave something, you go to something. You just go to something. And the people that are wanting to go back to normal, or why are we going to return back to normal? To be honest with you, that basically they're saying, I'd like to go back to my comfort zone. And those who are saying, wait, there's going to be a new normal, and I could hardly wait to see what that looks like, and I don't know it, don't understand it yet, but I'm going to explore it, and I'm going to make the best use of it. They're in that stretching period. So here are some stretch statements. Hang on, let's go. Number one, there's what I call the growth stretch. And the growth stretch, here's the phrase for that. If you're in a growing stretch in your life, here's a statement you say often. There is a better way. And I just absolutely love that statement. There is a better way. Now, here's what I mean by that. I think I'm doing nothing in my life today that cannot be improved. I'm known as a communicator, but can I tell you something? When I'm done communicating, there is a better way. I think I'm a good leader, but when I'm finished leading someone through a project, can I tell you something? There is a better way. I always believe there is a better way. And in the crisis that moves us, what are we doing? We're taking detours. I've talked about this. The fact that what makes it a crisis is we can't do the same thing, go down the same road, get to the same destination with the same speed. We're all of a sudden we're dead ends and detours, and we thought we were going over here, but we can't get there. And detours for a person like me who is kind of bottom line, get to it as quickly as you can, very frustrating. But I'm going to tell you right now, take the detour tour. And not only take the detour tour, maximize the detour tour. Because you're going to see things you haven't seen. You're going to experience places you've never experienced before. In other words, take it all in. Because I promise you that some of the things you're going to see and some of the things that you're going to experience is, honestly, if you're going after it in a positive way, you're going to find that there's a better way out of it. And so when people say to themselves, well, when are we going to get it back to normal or back to our comfort zone? There's a better question than when are we going to get back to normal? And the question is, hey, hang on now. Here it is. Here's the question. Why should I go back to normal? Who said normal was the best way? It's just the way that I'm comfortable with. And I can promise you, if I get moved out of the old normal, it's only because the new normal has possibilities that the old one didn't. I'm going to read you something that I just picked up a couple of days ago from Abraham Maslow. Of course, you know him in the Maslow order of needs, and we all studied that in psychology in college. Here we go. Here's what he said. The most important learning lessons that I've ever had in my life, that you'll ever have in your life, the most important learning lessons came out of tragedies, deaths, trauma. Our most important learning lessons have come out of times when we were forced, not when we willingly, when we were forced to change. And he said, which, as we were forced to change, our life outlook became incredibly different. Well, Abraham's just telling you and me that that growth stretch tells us that there's always a better way, but most of the time we don't find a better way until we get in on the detour tour, and then we find it. So here's what I believe about improvement and growth and the stretching that I'm talking about. Here's what I believe. I believe that everyone can improve. I believe you can. I believe I can. I believe that everything can be improved. I don't think there's anything that I'm doing today that doesn't have more capacity and potential than what I'm getting out of it. So everyone can be improved. Everything can be improved. And thirdly, every day has improvement possibilities. If I go into every day with the mindset, this is a day that I'm going to be able to improve myself, I'm going to improve the things I do. If I have every day has improvement possibilities mindset, I am going to have that growth stretch that I really want to have in my life. I want it for you, I want it for me. That's the first growth statement. The second growth statement is what I call the creative stretch. And the creative stretch just simply says to you and me There is always an answer. And usually what the creative stretch says to us is there's not only always an answer, but there's usually more than one answer. And the number one characteristic of a creative person isn't the fact that they're just incredibly creative and artistic. The number one DNA of anybody that's creative is that they believe that there is another answer somewhere out there. And they have that curiosity and that passion and that bent to find out what that answer is. And where is the answer? Okay, we've already talked about it, but we'll do it one more time. Where's the answer? It's almost always outside of our comfort zone. So, during this crisis, the question I have for you and me is what am I learning right now that I didn't know before the crisis? What are you learning right now that you didn't know before the crisis? And what am I doing? What are you doing right now that we didn't do before the crisis? Okay, what do I know? How am I changing? And the answer is, for me, it's incredible. I am so grateful for this crisis because I'm just learning that I have left margins out of my life, and because I've left margins out of my life, I haven't always had the best life. And it's just been a wonderful thing for me to have a little time, not be traveling as much. Honestly, I always use the excuse for my health, this fact that I traveled and had a heavy schedule. And by the way, anybody that travels a lot knows that it's a bear to keep on top of your health when you travel and have the schedule that I've had. But I got rid of my travel excuse, so I said, okay, I'm going to exercise. I'm going to eat right. The worst excuse is a good excuse. I dropped that one, and so in the last 5 and 6 weeks, I've intentionally tried to exercise 3 hours a day. Now, that's not possible in a regular routine. I know that 3 hours that's too much time. But I have enough time now that I can pretty much average 3 hours. And so I walk every day, I swim every day, I jump on my rebounder every day, and do 73 push-ups every day. And just the other day, Mark and I in Las Vegas about a year and a half ago, we did a half marathon. Just the other day, I did another half marathon. And Mark, you weren't with me, buddy. I did it all myself, which was huge because when you were with me, the last 3 miles, you just kept me going. In fact, the Vegas one, if you would have been with me, I don't think I would have finished. I think I would have given up. But I couldn't give up because you wouldn't let me. And what's worse than not finishing the race is stopping and getting your butt kicked. But the point was, I did it. In fact, I did it. I thought to myself, you know what? I think I could do 2 consecutive days of half marathons. I think I may try that before the month's over. I wonder if I think I could do two days of 13.1 miles. I just think I could do it. In fact, in the last 6 days, I've done 42 miles. So I'm doing okay. But the point being, and I'm losing weight. I'm feeling better. But here's what I'm saying. Again, this whole creative stretch. What am I doing on my detour that's allowing me to stretch creatively? Let me talk to you about the third stretch for a moment, and that's the intentional stretch. And the intentional stretch just very simply says that the statement is intentional living is the bridge between intentions and actions. And you've heard me talk about intentional living a lot, and the fact that good intentions are overrated, and they are. And what intentional living does, it takes me from good intentions, obviously, to good actions. It's the old John Wooden thing to his team when he was coaching at UCLA. And he said, John, I didn't want to pick the captain of the team until the third or fourth game because he said, I didn't want a captain with just the captain name and position. I wanted the captain to be deserving. And I wanted to see in a tight game which one of my players wanted that ball and would take that responsibility. He said, that's got to be my captain. In other words, I wanted a little bit of time there. Here's what happens in a crisis. It takes us out of automatic because what comfort zone, if I could describe comfort zone in one word, it would be automatic. We like being in a zone where we don't have to really think much and we can just kind of let life happen and we just go through all the motions. And we don't have to strategize. It's just pretty well we've been there, done that kind of a process. And so the other day, as I was getting ready for this lesson, I just wrote down what I thought automatic meant. And what I'm about to give you, these are not good things, but I think when a person's automatic, here's what I think. A person that loves automatic, they love easy. Automatic's easy. If you're an automatic, you won't initiate. People that are automatic, they're not looking to start something. In fact, start something would get them out of automatic. It would get them out of their comfort zone. Hey, if you're an automatic, you lack focus. You don't need to focus. It's automatic. If you're an automatic, guess what? You miss opportunities. Why? You're missing them because you aren't looking for them. Why would you look for them? I mean, you're an automatic. If you're an automatic, you never change. In fact, that's part of the thing you don't want to do. You don't want to change. If you're an automatic, you reduce your curiosity. You know, why be curious? I might find something out there that I don't know. If you're an automatic, you won't stretch. If you're an automatic, you lack energy. Everybody that's an automatic, they just basically, again, it's automatic. They don't have to push uphill. Automatic isn't contagious. There's nothing contagious about somebody in their comfort zone. I've never known somebody that looked at someone else in their comfort zone and said, wow, I'd like to go there myself. There's not if you're an automatic, you don't have to think. Wow. So the question is on the stretches is what will I take out of automatic in my life and become intentional with? Again, it goes back to the fact that if I've been in automatic, if I'm going to that intentional lifestyle, what am I going to take out of automatic? And I think this crisis has been so good for us because I think it's for some of us. You know what we're doing? We're taking out of automatic our sense of entitlement, that this is, kind of should be mine, and we're becoming more grateful. I think we're taking out of automatic a sense of I've got answers and have an arrogance about us, and we're beginning to pick up humility. I think we're taking out of automatic the whole it's all about me and selfishness, and I think that we're beginning to embrace good values. So this is a good thing. There's an intentional stretch that allows us again to really focus on where we're going and who we could be. Number 4 is what I call the thinking stretch. And the thinking stretch, the statement I want to give you there is the greatest gap in life is the thinking gap, and how people think. And so because I'm at home and I'm in my office, I'm going to show you a book I'm holding up right here. And this is called The Magic Power of Thinking Big by David Schwartz. Now, when you've heard me talk about the fact that my father paid me to read books. And this is one of the books, I read this book in the 10th grade, sophomore year. In fact, this book cost, a second, I may have to get my glasses here. This book cost, $1. This was a $1 book. So that tells you how old I am right here. So, and in my office right over there, I have a couple sections of my bookshelf that's dedicated to the space of books that have changed my life. And so when I was thinking about the thinking stretch, I pulled this book out because this was the first book I read that really made me rubber band my thinking and stretch my thinking way, way out of my comfort zone. And so I started going through this the other day, and I underlined in this book over 100 thoughts in this book. It's just got and what's crazy about my underlining back then, I don't know. I don't think you could pick this up on I don't know. We'll see. I don't think you can pick this up on the screen, but my underlining is all really, see how nice and straight it is? And you know why it's so nice and straight is because when I underlined back then, I used a ruler. I was so, and I wish now that I've shown you that, the reason I'm underlining it really, and I wish I could show you one of my books now. In fact, let me see if I can. Okay, now you're just going to have to hang on, folks, because my iPad is on a stack of books. Okay. Now hold on. You could lose me. You could see the ceiling of my office in a second. Hang on. I'm pulling out a book. Oh no. Oh, hold on. Okay. that was my hand you saw there. Now I'm gonna have to slouch down because this is okay. And the reason I want to pull this one out, because this is just crazy. On this book, and I'm reading a book right now on principles by the guy that's the head of Bridgestone. In fact, here, just give me a second. I'll be right back. Don't leave me. Don't leave. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm here. Here, hold on, hang on. Look, so this is a really good book. This is by Ray Dalio of Bridgestone Principles. Okay, now the reason it's a thick book. This is, good Lord, 500 and it's over 500 pages. It's a big book. Okay, so the size of the book kind of is discouraging, but I'll tell you what, it's a very good book. So I showed you how I underlined there, and now what I do now is I turn down pages and I scratch all over the place. So now I don't know if you can see that or not, but you can see I'm just kind of scratching and going down the side. And and the difference is that when I was younger, when I read a book, I had time to do it perfect, underline it perfect. Now I just say, just get to the main point. Get to the main point. Now, in this book on the magic power of thinking big, this is huge, because here's what he did. Here's what he said. You know what? I'm sorry, just one more time, and then I won't do this anymore. I just got to put that. I got to put it back up there. Okay, there we go. Okay, now, so here's what he says on page 75. Capacity is a state of mind. How much we can do depends on how much we think we can do. When you really believe that you can do more, your mind thinks creatively and shows you the way. That is so powerful. We all know that this thinking stretch is just absolutely life-changing. And sometime I'll teach this because it's so powerful. The shared thinking and sustained thinking is just it'll change your life, because we overestimate and overrate smart thinking. And shared thinking, when you and I share ideas, what happens out of that always is better thinking, because you get different perspectives. And sustained thinking gives you deeper thinking. And what I'm just saying to you is during this time of crisis, get with people, colleagues, and share your thoughts. And I promise you'll get some ideas. I was just on a Zoom call with Mark, with a company that we work with right before this call. And Mark took about 15 minutes with that company and just shared with them some of the things that he had learned about social media and what to do with conferences right now. And I'm not doing any talking. I'm just listening to Mark, and he's just phenomenal what he's saying to them. And the CEO of the company, he's just writing down notes. Mark gave him a half a dozen really good thoughts and ideas. But let me tell you something. As we interacted, there were 5 of us on that call, on that Zoom call. As we interacted, our ideas got better. We made each other see. Shared thinking makes your idea better, and sustained thinking makes your idea deeper. You drive deep and you go wide. It's a powerful thing. So in this thinking stretch, especially the moment that I look at where I am and what's happening to me, and I say to myself, I'm not going to allow the thinking of most people. In fact, when the virus started, there was a statement I had to be careful of making, because it sounded very unsympathetic, and I didn't mean it that way. But just because it's raining on your parade doesn't mean I'm going to let it rain on my parade. Now, listen to me very carefully. I'm going to contextualize that now, because there's been a lot of tragedy. We know that. Here's what that means. I'm not going to allow your thinking, which is probably scarcity, negative, full of fear. I'm not going to let your thinking invade my mind at all. I don't have to. I choose to reframe the situation I'm in. You see, I don't deny the situation I'm in. I just reframe it. In fact, I hope you can be with me in our next week's lesson, because in the next week's lesson, I'm going to talk about courage. And I'm going to talk about courage to continue. Because you see, there's two types of courage. There's a courage that I do for the moment, and wow, that was a courageous act you just did. And then there's the courage that I do for weeks and months because the issue doesn't go away. And the courage to continue on in that process is just absolutely essential to my success, and it's essential to your success. And I'm going to talk about that next week. But the point being that in courage and in our thinking, I'm not about to allow what the news media or other people are saying about our situation to control how I think about our situation and what I do about the situation. Not denying reality, but the same sense, I'm reframing. I'm going to talk to you about how do you reframe the picture next week so that you can see it realistically, but the same sense, you can also see it in a creative way and be courageous in that process, okay? Now, the thinking stretch is just a huge stretch. In fact, there's one other quote out of this book on David Schwartz I want to give you too, and then I got to get you another stretch real quickly, and that is, here we go. Where success is concerned, people are not measured in inches or pounds or college degrees or family background. They are measured by the size of their thinking. So the stretch statements I've given you, first of all, the growth stretch, which says there's a better way. There's the creative stretch, which says there's always an answer. There's the intentional stretch, which says intentional living is the bridge between intentions and actions. And then there's the thinking stretch, which says the greatest gap is how people think. The last stretch I want to give you is the perspective stretch. And the perspective stretch basically says there is no finish line. It's a big picture stretch. It looks beyond when is the coronavirus going to be over? When are we going to have a vaccine? It's a big picture stretch. There is no finish line. It's Simon Sinek in the Infinite Game book. It's allowing you to soar above other people's thinking and other people's actions and really have a perspective that is different than others, because how we view things is how we do things. And I've shared, so I'm not going to go in length in this lesson, but I've shared how when I was in my 20s, when I heard Earl Nightingale talk about if you'll just spend 1 hour a day, every day on the same subject, in 5 years you'll become an expert on it. I decided to do that with leadership. And when I started that process, I had a finish line mindset. How long will it take? How long will it take? How long will it take? But the change that happened within me, about halfway through the process, I went from how long will it take to how far can I go? How long will it take? How long is the coronavirus going to last? How long will it take? That's a finish line mindset. How far can I go? There is no finish line. And that's the perspective stretch. And so let me just kind of lay this out for you really quickly, and then I'm done. How long will it take is goal focused. How far can I go is growth focused. How long will it take emphasizes deadlines. And how far can I go emphasizes development. How long will it take is limited to time, but how far can I go is not limited to time. When I say how long will it take, I'm basically saying there's not much more I can do. How far can I go? I say there's so much more that I can do. You see, the how long will it take finish line mindset basically says that whatever I'm doing is not bigger than me. The how far can I go mindset is saying everything I do is bigger than me. In fact, when we talk about bucket list, I have bucket list. I bet every one of you have a bucket list. If I'm asking how long will it take, can I tell you something about my bucket list? If I stay with it, I'll check every one of those things off, and I'll finish my bucket list. But if I have a perspective that there's no finish line, guess what? My bucket list never gets finished. Yeah. Because can I tell you something about this perspective? It's bigger than a bucket list. And let me tell you something else about this perspective. It's bigger than me. And what that means is I get to play a game that is bigger than me, for stakes that are bigger than me, for life change and difference that's bigger than me. And now all of a sudden, when I look at COVID-19, all of a sudden when I'm looking where I am right now, although I see the issues, I see beyond the issues. I have a farther look than just when will this be finished. My look right now is the fact that sometime it will be finished. The question is not, when is COVID-19 going to be over? The question is, how am I growing during COVID-19 so that when it is over, I'm better then than I am now? That's the question. How is my business going to be better afterwards because I got creative and I began to marshal my leaders and my people together and said, hey, this is an opportunity for us to go to a whole new level. That's the question. The question is not when the COVID-19 is over, what we don't want to say is we got so wrapped up in it that we were over. We were bigger than that. Our perspective was much broader, higher, longer, further than that. So those are 5 stretch statements. Here's what I know when I did the lesson. On every one of them, I asked myself, is this stretching me? Am I getting better because I'm having this perspective stretch or this thinking stretch? Am I improving because of these stretch statements? Well, I'm doing my best. But you know what's even more important to me? Not only that I'm doing my best to stretch, it's just as important to me that you are too. And that's the reason. That's the reason. That is the reason we come to you every week. Just to stretch you and make you a little bit bigger, a little bit better. You know, I've talked one other time, and I just want to share with you in closing today that one of my greatest joys is the coaching company that I have. Because we really equip people. We put them in leadership lanes, speaking lanes, entrepreneurial lanes, coaching lanes. We have an organization that just makes people a lot better. And last week I talked about it just briefly, and hundreds of you went to the webinar and so that you could learn more about the company. And so if you just go to coachwithjohn.com, that's it. Just coach with me, coachwithjohn.com. I like that. If you just go to it, we have a webinar, and you can just find out a little bit more about what we're doing and join many people. We have 33,000 coaches around the world. So come and see what we can do to help equip you so that when you get through this crisis, you'll even be better equipped than you have before. Anyway, it's been good to be with you. Thanks for just letting me share from my heart. I love you. I believe in you, and I want only the best for you. Because my name is John, and I'm your friend.
Thanks for being with us today on the Leadership When It Matters the Most program. I hope John encouraged you in your leadership just like he encouraged me. Our goal in this time of crisis is to come alongside you, add value to you so you can multiply value to others. If you go to johnmaxwell.com, you'll find free resources, tools that will help you lead in these very unique times. You'll find our podcast, John Maxwell Leadership Podcast, Minute with Maxwell, a daily word that John will bring to you, as well as our leadership blog. All of those resources on johnmaxwell.com, and they are free and ready for you to encourage you as well as you encourage others. Thanks for joining us. We look forward to seeing you soon when leadership matters the most.